Next up, we have Tony James, Managing Director and CEO of Galena Mining. Often referred to around the WA mining industry as the mine builder or Takeover Tony, TJ has considerable mining and project development experience. His experience includes working as managing director level of 3 ASX-listed companies, with 2 of those companies he successfully guided through a merger and takeover process. He's had extensive leadership roles in mines like Telfer, Pillara, Kanana Bell, Black Swan and Higginsville, and that's led him to being responsible for building the Abra lead silver mine in 2022 and bringing the mine into production in 2023. Thanks.
Thank you, Libby. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to be here. I'm really pleased to get another opportunity to come and speak and give you an update on Galena and what we've been doing. It is always nice to come and talk straight after you have your first cash flow positive month, so that makes it a bit easier, obviously. So I'm looking forward to giving everyone a bit of an update. Just to start, I would also like to just shout out to our traditional owners. I'd like to say hello to Michelle, Rose, Cowboy and families up at Yulkagina and wish them well and look forward to catching up with them pretty soon. In understanding the history of this mine, this deposit's been around for a long time. A lot of you guys have seen this over many years, discovered in the late 80s. But I think this is an important slide to just get a handle on how quickly we've done this. We've done this very, very quickly. And it's also a good slide for aspiring mine builders to have a look at, just to see what you have to go through to get to where we are today. 2017, we did the IPO, Galena IPO. 2018, scoping study and PFS. 2019, DFS. And Toho then joined as our joint venture partner in 2019. 2020, we got our debt facility in place with Taurus around when COVID first started to put a few roadblocks in our pathway. 21 was the financial investment decision, and our 4th mineral resource estimate. We built the mine last year. This year's been commissioning and ramp up, and next year we're into steady state. And we're up to our 5th mineral resource estimate that we released on Monday this week. So if you want to understand how much work you've got to do to build a mine, then that's a good example. And take away the time frame, we've been very busy and we've been very slick. And the end result, I can share with you now.
The Abra Base Metals mine, located in the Edmund Basin in Western Australia, is a significant lead-silver deposit commencing production in early 2023. Owned by Galena Mining and Toho Zinc, Abra Mining has secured 2 10-year offtake agreements, highlighting its quality and future potential. The Abra deposit showcases a unique sediment-hosted replacement style of mineralisation with intense hydrothermal activity. It consists of 2 domains: the apron domain, featuring stratiform lead and silver mineralisation zones, and the core domain, containing hydrothermal sheeted veining and breccias, hosting some of the highest lead grades within the deposit. As we continue developing the underground mine, our geological knowledge of the deposit and exploration opportunities continues to expand, allowing for the targeting of copper and gold mineralisation below the core domain, as well as over 20 identified mineral prospects. Encouraging results have already been obtained from drilling outside the mine footprint, including the discovery of extensions of lead-silver mineralisation at Sultan and Genie. Abra's underground operation employs long-hole open stoping as the primary mining technique. With the commissioning of the paste plant, stopes will be backfilled with cement paste for stability. The underground operation will feed the processing plant 1.3 million tonnes of ore annually, producing over 95,000 tonnes of lead and 805,000 ounces of silver each year, with an initial mine life of 13 years. The ore undergoes a 3-stage crushing process, followed by grinding in a single-stage ball mill circuit. Lead flotation is carried out in rougher and scavenger stages, producing a bulk concentrate that is thickened and filtered to remove excess moisture and impurities. With recovery rates above 90%, the concentrate will have a lead content of up to 75% and approximately 200 grams per tonne of silver. The high-quality concentrate is transported in littered shipping containers to the Port of Geraldton for export. We are extremely proud of our achievements and our commitment to sustainability, operational excellence, and delivering high-quality lead concentrate in this new and exciting mineral province.
From a mining engineer's perspective, that's bloody awesome. Love it. Absolutely awesome. So excited. It's good. It's good fun. Love building things, love getting things up and going and running. And if you have a look at our pathway to guidance this year in 2023, we had some speed bubbles earlier on. We had some speed bubbles when we took our development into the top northern margin of our ore body, and some of the stopes weren't there that we planned to be there. That caused a few conniptions. There's about 600,000 tonnes of actually material that dropped out of our mine plan. So we had to make some very quick adjustments as we work through to the end of June, which is our second quarter of ramp up. And what we did was we actually mined and processed up to the end of June 325,000 tonnes of ore at 4.8% lead. But only 200,000 tonnes at 6.7 came out of the mineral resource. The other 125,000 tonnes at 1.8 actually came from outside the mineral resource with the development work that we're actually doing. We put that into the plant during this time frame because we wanted to get the plant commissioned properly, up and running and working. And you can just imagine people up there on site, if we had rocks up there at the beginning of this project when we were commissioning the plant, if it looked like it had lead in it, I promise you, it went into the plant. And that's what happened with our speed bubbles. And then we had rain in March, and that wiped us out in April, and so our June quarter was effectively only 2 months. July is our first month to be cash flow positive. We're very excited to actually achieve that level of performance. We still are doing a lot of development. We're not at the right ratio of development and stoping yet, but that'll come as time goes on into the second half of the year. For the rest of this year, we're planning to mine 100,000 tonnes of ore a month, and we're planning to get up to 12 kilometres of development by the end of the year. It's another 37 to 47,000 tonnes of lead that we'll produce by the end of the year. So we're on track, and it's looking pretty good. Let's talk about lead. I'd like to talk a little bit about lead because poor old lead gets hammered a bit, as you can imagine. So, it's nice to have a little bit of balance when you do talk about lead. So in 2022, looking lead price, I think, and lead future in the short to medium term is driven by the demand in increasing population, urbanisation, industrialisation in Asia. It's very specifically in that region where you've got lots of people coming into the world that, some of these people, they don't really care if it's an EV or a good old-fashioned car, they just would like to have a vehicle. So, there is still a product for lead going forward. And a lot of EVs, a majority of EVs still have lead-acid batteries in them, and the reason for that is it's reliable and it's affordable. And they need that system to drive, the 12-volt system to drive the control logic in those vehicles as they go forward. 400 million lead-acid batteries are getting consumed on an annual basis around the world. And 88% of refined lead is being used in batteries, 65% in the automobile world. So it's very, very busy. Interestingly, in India, they're promoting hybrid vehicles, which I think makes a lot of sense. And hybrid vehicles is a market that's getting a lot of penetration in some of these countries because they don't have the infrastructure to charge vehicles. Hybrid works for them, so there's a big promotional push on for hybrids in some of these countries. Very good. And China is actually building the biggest 5G network at the moment in the world, which is also consuming a significant amount of lead. The principal use is obviously automotive, and I think that this replacement requirement for batteries that fail is underpinning the lead price because it isn't behaving like a lot of other metals. It's quite stable. This is a very solid demand segment in lead, and these batteries need replacing because if you don't replace the batteries, you lose your vehicle. It doesn't remain usable. Let's look at lead production. This is also quite interesting, and on this graph we're showing you Abra's contribution to lead production in the future. It's sort of plateauing out at the moment, but then resources and reserves do drop off quite quickly. Abra's quite unique. We are the cleanest concentrate producer in the world, and our concentrate is being sought after by many end customers. So our contribution to this is, although minor, we are in a very, very strong place right at the moment moving forward. There's also this uncertainty with energy prices in Europe caused by the Ukraine and Russian conflict that's also causing some grief in Europe with some of the lead smelters that may also make it a little bit more unstable in Europe, which may also help us in the long run. Exploration at Abra. Our decline on the north of the Abra Fold is about 100 metres away from some significant drill holes that are very close to us. What we're calling the North Abra part of the deposit, we've drilled 3 holes there. We've got a hole about 700 metres out to right at Ale. And as time goes on, we'll start to do some drilling in this area, but it's very close to us. This is one of the areas that we certainly will be doing some exploration work on. If we look at the gold copper that sits beneath the lead silver deposit, certainly we haven't done any drilling here as yet, but what's actually happened now is when you look at our mine plan and we look at what we're looking at to go out to the end of this year, over 90% of our mine plan to the end of this year is actually drilled out to 12 by 12 spacing. We've actually got the mine plan pretty solid right through to June, July next year, and we've probably got 75% of that mine plan drilled out to 12 by 12 spacing. And what this is enabling us to do is actually to take our 2 underground drill rigs and start pushing some holes sideways and pushing some holes down into the gold copper. And I've always indicated to the market that in the second half of this year we'll be in a position to do some of this drilling, and we're now putting some plans in place, and we plan to do some of that drilling down into gold copper. Just to get a handle on what we've got down there, we haven't done much work on that at all. We don't really completely understand it. We've spent a lot of time, particularly with our development, doing a lot of mapping, a lot of understanding the significance of the ore body as we go forward, and how we use that knowledge and that IP, and how we use that and we take that forward in this belt, remembering that this is 200 metres below the surface. And then when you look at the regional setting, it's really quite interesting. The Abra joint venture, anything with a name on it here has got a mineralised intercept, which shows you how significant this area is. From our underground work, we've determined that the red cap, the jasperite that sits above the Abra mineralisation, is a significant piece of information, because it's been the impermeable barrier that stopped the hydrothermal veins from going up. It's basically made these deposits swell out and go into the stratiform sediments and form deposits. All the way across this Abra joint venture area, we're seeing this jasperite cap. It's very significant. So there's lots of work to actually happen in that area. When you go to the west and you look at the Galena tenements, there's lots of work out there that needs to be done. It's a project in its own right. We're not doing a lot of work out there at the moment, but just watch this space. We start to generate some cash, we'll come up with some good ideas and start to do some interesting things out on the Galena side of this package. Very quickly, looking at our structure, our corporate structure. For those that have been around the industry for a long time, that looks a bit like the Lassonde curve of value. So, you know, the old trough, the orphan that's, you know, when you build a mine and before the thing takes off and you go into production, looks a bit like that. So I think we're an orphan. You know, we're sitting in that space now, and we're rapidly looking to come out of that space. I think it's quite challenging in this day and age, particularly with social media platforms and the amount of communications that happen very, very quickly. The faceless people that have pot shots at you when you're an orphan, not very pleasant, but you've got to put up with it and you've got to move on. So we're setting ourselves up, I believe, very nicely for the future. The mine is built. It is one of the largest and cleanest lead silver deposits in the world. We've delivered 4 in-specification concentrate shipments to market. My Japanese colleagues at Toho tell me they love our concentrate for 2 reasons. One, it doesn't smell funny, and 2, that actually enables them to blend in other crappy concentrates in with our concentrate so they can actually put their production rate up. In July was our first month of being cash positive, which is very exciting for all the people that have worked so hard on this project. And we've got really solid plans in place for the rest of this year. We've drilled out to 12 by 12 to Christmas time. We're 3/4 drilled out to 12 by 12 through to the middle of next year. And so next year, as we go into steady state, we'll be in a very good place. We've got tremendous exploration potential and opportunity. And when we get around to doing that properly, I'm sure that that's really going to come into play. Remembering nobody's been here before. This is the first mine into this district. And this district has a lot of potential, but it's all quite deep. So there's a lot of work to happen in that space. Our joint venture partner, Toho in Japan, are awesome. They are the best joint venture partner I've ever worked with in my career. Absolutely fantastic, and they are 100% supportive of what we're doing. And that's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure when you're a miner. And we have 2 10-year offtake agreements locked away, and that all works very, very, very well for us. And we're really looking forward to keeping with those 2 relationships that we have. And next year, we're going to go into steady state. We'll get to steady state in the second half of this year, and we'll continue into next year. And our plan is to turn this lead mine into a cash mine, and I'm sure it'll happen, because when you go down underground at Galena, at Abra, and you walk around, there is metal everywhere. It is unbelievable. We just got to get it tuned up on sync, on point, and really deliver, and that's our plan for next year. And as my parting comment, I'd just like to let you know, in those 16,000 solar panels we've got in our hybrid power station up on site, there's 1.5 tonnes of lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.